Thanks, Tom, and ladies and gentlemen, I just want to thank all of you for turning out in such large numbers, foresters and exhibitors, and of course our panel of excellent speakers here. I am a small forestry owner, and I think it was John said, unlike probably many of you, it's a very small forest, but it's right on my doorstep, so I'm very familiar with how badly I manage it, because it's something that crosses my mind every day. Recently my wife said to me, she says, why is Dara, is my son, is my eldest son? I said, he's talking to me about thinning. And I says, God, that's interesting. I said, he wants to make sure his inheritance is in good order. So I think we're all interested, either, I suppose the whole purpose of these Talking Timber events really is to connect us, those of us that grow trees, with the product that those trees produce. And I guess it is one of the distinguishing features of something, of an agricultural land using activity, is that we're quite familiar, if we're producing dairy cows or producing cereal crops or whatever it might be, with the end use. And we have to be. And there is a bit of a disconnection when it comes to trees. And I think that's the purpose of these Talking Timber events. And I think really from the questions, particularly up the yard, I think, and from the questions here indeed in terms of alternative markets and so on, I think there's an increasing awareness that we do have to think about the actual product and the markets that those products are destined for in order to optimize the value of the crop. Just one other comment I make, and I do think is very important. The afforestation targets have in recent years dipped below the desired levels. And obviously this is an issue that provokes a number of different responses. First, from the point of view of people that are contemplating forestry as an enterprise, obviously there's an issue there in terms of returns and so forth. And it's something that has to be looked at. But it's actually more important for another reason. And that is, someone spoke about climate change there a minute ago. And I think it was in the context of, Cavan mentioned it, in the context of varieties and so forth, and that may well transpire, although I'm not sure in this country whether the effects will be as evident and say as in the more Nordic regions of Europe, for example. But the big issue about climate change is actually not an issue, it's more of an issue for the dairy sector and the beef sector. And I've been saying for a long, long time now that the dairy and beef sector, more than ever, need more trees to be grown and grown productively in this country. The actual, Teagasc has estimated, for example, that the offset potential of maximising our target afforestation levels is worth the saving of about 3 million tonnes of CO2 equivalent. Now that's a massive, it's the single greatest contribution to offsetting greenhouse gas emissions from agriculture, actually. There's no other intervention that we have identified in terms of scientific research at this stage that is important. So obviously what the foresters now have to do is to I suppose persuade their colleagues in other land use sectors, you know, to step up to the plate and participate in the mobilisation of this important resource. The other point I would say, I think it's very interesting, we had a fantastic presentation there from John in regard to certification, and I think if the message hasn't gone out now loud and clear, that I think the key message that needs to go out loud and clear rather, is that we do need to get our act together in that respect. And that strikes me that the initiative that was adopted by the producers that John is involved with, and the Northeast Forest Owners Group, is hugely important. It points the way, but maybe what we do need is a national initiative. And I'm thinking, for example, something along the lines, and I've said this previously, but I do think it's critically important now, particularly in the context of Brexit and everything else. Should we not be seeking some agency involvement, like what Bord B are doing? I mean, it's the very same issue. Bord B are quality assuring beef, dairy products, all agricultural products now to a hugely high standard, which is recognised worldwide. It's actually becoming essential now in the marketplace that we do that. And it seems from what John and others have said here today, we need the very same in the forestry sector. But maybe what we do need to do is, at a much higher level, actually take the example that John's group has shown and said, look, the time is long since gone that we do need a state intervention at that level, like Bord B, to perhaps underline the need for certification. And that's tied in, of course, with Brexit, because the only chance we have, and we all hope, of course, that the nightmare scenario doesn't come about, because while the exchange rate situation is hugely challenging, it's nothing compared to what would happen if the kind of tariff levels in a hard Brexit are actually imposed. But we do need every other support to be in place to support this industry to deal with the competitive shock, and certification seems to me to be a critical one of them. Look, I just want to thank you again for attending. Thank all of my colleagues here in Teagasc, the department, Cuilche, everyone involved, and particularly, of course, my colleagues here at Ballyhaise. And we're very proud of the fact that we have taught forestry level 5 programme. I think John I don't know what he mentioned earlier, this is the 30th anniversary of the intake of the first group of forestry students in here to Ballyhaise. This year is the 30th anniversary, and it's been going from strength to strength. And I think all of the staff here are to be commended. There last year I had the experience of trying out Marianne's Lions' harvester. I made a right mess of it. The simulator, harvest simulator. I hope you didn't record my performance online, but I presume you probably do have it. It'll be released in due course. But there's a fantastic resource here, and we're immensely proud of it. And we want to underline our commitment to the sector by saying that every effort that we can make into the future to support this really, really important industry, we'll do so. Thank you again.